All right. Well, I've never celebrated Halloween in my life, but I have as a child, but I have not. I wouldn't even know when Halloween was, other than the fact that it's the end of October every month. But today we're gonna go into the world of Halloween, and this is a great suggestion. I'm not going to take ownership for this at all. This was Mr. Neel Shah's recommendation or idea to do a Halloween betting horror stories segment for the Trademate channel. Even though you were the one that suggested this, you have no stories yourself.
My mind's gone blank, but I might think of something. But yeah,
So I'm going to go first with my Halloween horror story. And I thought instead of just, going through a story where the, the boring old story of just being scammed or being, someone running away with your money, which is like the biggest horror story with sports betting. I've got a few of those, but why not just do a bad beats kind of section, like a my worst beat with sports betting or my worst loss, you might want to call it, which I kind of don't really like to talk about in general because I think you can have lots of, you know, losses that can annoy you, every week, but that's just sports betting. But this one in particular was, I guess, so bad that in my eyes the bet won, but somehow I lost. So here's my Halloween betting horror story. You might remember, I think it was about a year ago actually. They had one of those YouTube boxing fights. Do you ever follow those? Like the Logan Paul, Jake Paul,
all right,
kind of.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it was, I think it was Tommy Fury, who's like a Love Island fella, but he's actually a decent. Well, I mean, he's been boxing for a while. Versus KSI, I think he's like a YouTube streamer, something like that. And they also had Logan Paul versus Dylan Dennis, and Dylan Dennis is like he got famous because he was like the grappling coach for Conor McGregor. He did a little bit of MMA fighting, but then he just out of nowhere, like, didn't see him for like 3 or 4 years, and then he reappears as this like online troll, and he gets himself a boxing fight with Logan Paul, who, yeah. So Dylan Dennis is just a grappler, basically. Like, we've never seen the man strike ever, so we're just like, okay, this is a bit of a complete shit show, basically. Um, but I generally, when these fights come around, I just absolutely spam the fight to go the distance or someone to win by decision, because in boxing, it's generally very hard to knock someone out, especially if you're not a good boxer. Plus, the guys on the other end are just like, it's just basically everyone's betting on a guy to win by knockout, because that's the kind of people that you're marketing this fight to, and generally the KO lines on these boxing bets get overinflated. So I have bet uh, Logan Paul, who was like a minus 400, minus 500, 1.2, kind of, huge favorite to beat Dylan Dennis to win by decision, which I think, from memory, it was somewhere in the 3.0, 4.0, 5.0 kind of range. I can't exactly remember. Anyway, it's a complete shit show of a fight. You can go and watch the fight on YouTube if you really want to. It's actually quite entertaining at times. But Dylan Dennis, the grappler, he gets deducted 2 points throughout the fight I think it's like the third round or something like that, and the sixth round. It's only a 6 round fight. I can't remember exactly what he was doing, but he gets deducted points for just being a dickhead, basically. Like, he's like shooting for takedowns and stuff like this in a boxing fight. So, which is like, illegal. Um, anyway, so we get to the fight's about to finish. They've got the time. You know how, like, when you got the fight on, you've got the timer. 10 seconds to go, whatever, 30 seconds to go. The clock's ticking down. Logan Paul's completely dominated the fight. Like, he's clearly going to win on the scorecards. Happy days for me. I'm about to cash a nice little winner. The timer was something was wrong with the timer. Like, the time of the fight legitimately finished. Like, the fight was over. Like, if so in a boxing fight or a UFC fight, generally you'll see like 10 seconds to go on the timer, and then sometimes they remove the timer. I don't know why they do it, but in this case they did. So you see 15, 14, 13, 12, 11 seconds. And then at 10, the timer disappears, which is pretty common. And so if you just started a stopwatch then and did the timer, the fight finished, but the bell didn't go. They didn't even signal for 5 seconds, 10 seconds left in the round, which they normally do, and they just keep fighting. So you're like, this is obviously I'm not timing it at that exact moment, but I'm like, I swear it's been 10 seconds by now. Why hasn't this fight finished? Why hasn't the ref stopped and separated the fighters? Anyway, Dennis ends up putting Logan, or attempting to put Logan in a chokehold in a boxing fight. So this is if you set a timer, this was 7 seconds after the fight should have finished. Dennis puts this guy in an attempted guillotine, chokehold, whatever you want to call it, and then holds him for however many seconds. Refs, gets kind of pissed off. Ends up the Logan Paul security guard jumps into the ring because he's like, oh, I've got to protect my guy from getting in some kind of, like the fight should be over by now. But anyway, Logan Paul's security guard jumps in the ring and basically just chaos ensues. So like everyone's jumping in the boxing ring. I don't know how this even happens at boxing fights, but it happened in this case. By the time that Logan Paul's security guard jumps into the ring, it is 13 seconds after the fight has finished. So technically, my bet had won 13 seconds ago, but for some reason, no one stopped the fight. So obviously, once everyone jumps in the ring, the fight stops, or at least, it can't really continue because there's so many people in the ring. There's like people punching each other. Like it's just complete mayhem. So I'm like, all right, surely, that was the end of the fight. My bet's won anyway, even though the timer never stopped. Like, surely my bet's won anyway. The announcer gets on the microphone like 5 minutes after everyone's cleared the ring and everything like that. And he goes, after 5 rounds, Jake Paul was winning on all the scorecards. But heading into the 6th round, he has been disqualified. Dennis has been disqualified for, I don't even know if they said what for, but everyone can assume it's because he was putting him in chokeholds and, shooting wrestling maneuvers and all this kind of stuff. He goes, Dennis has been DQ'd going into the 6th round. And so I'm sitting there going, okay, well, technically I've just lost my bet because KO and DQ are the same thing. So Jake Paul's won by KO or disqualification. But if you listen to what the ring announcer was saying, he said after 5 rounds and going into the 6th round, Dennis has been DQ'd. We were in the 6th round and the fight had finished. Like the 6th round was the last round and the fight had finished. So I don't know what happened there, like whether like someone didn't realize that there'd been 6 rounds rather than 5. And that's why he got a disqualification. So you got that issue. One, I don't even think they knew what round they were in. And secondly, the fight had finished. Like my bet had won. Logan Paul had basically won by decision. Like once they had read the scorecards out, it would have won. So that's my horror story. Is that basically
How did it settle in the end?
no? It settled as a KO win, and
Yeah.
that's how it settles because they always, if you look at, they say on all the betting websites or whatever, they say what they settle off what the announcement is or like what the official website says or whatever. They don't settle off like what logically actually happened. It's whatever the announcer says, whatever the website of the UFC or boxing, whatever website it is. So I lost my bet because either they didn't know what round the bet the fight was actually in, or they completely fucked up the timer. Either or, they fucked up both, but I lost my bet and I couldn't, like, my bet won, but it didn't.
Bizarre.
Horrible, mate. Just horrible. Luckily, I was having a good month at the time, but if I wasn't, then that would just be the ultimate kick in the nuts, and I've had enough of this.
I think that's what it is, right? It's just like the bad beats, the last minute things, fair enough, but like it's something ridiculous like that. Yeah.
Like a one.
I've got a shorter story that actually does come to mind because I think it was like around Halloween or around that time. I do a lot of horse race and betting. I couldn't even tell you what the race was. It'll probably come to mind later. But I had like a Trixie bet on, and like the first two horses had come in. I think I'd shared this with my group as well, and it was a third race, and it was a hurdles race, and I think maybe like 12 runners or something, and then so the horse we're on, like horse jumps over the second hurdle, and like the rider's kind of unseated, he's gone, right? So it's just like right, fuck. But and I was still watching it, but the horse is just on a mission. Like the jockey's gone, like the jockey's on the floor, and this horse is just bombing it like way out in
Oh, I
front,
think I've seen this.
jumping the hurdles, like going miles clear. But obviously, like there's no jockey on it, so just like the added frustration that the horse had all this pace, but but this jockey's just floored it, and like that would have been like a massive payout. That would have been quite handy. But yeah, don't as they say, don't work with children and animals, right?
How much did the horse win by?
Well, no, because there's no jockey on the horse, right?
Yeah, I
So
know, but how much did he win by? Or she?
like a couple of lengths. It was just fuck knows. It was on a mission, man.
Do you reckon if it had a jockey on it that it still would have won? Like, wait, why? I don't know how all that stuff works. Like, how much?
Well, yeah,
Obviously,
well, this is it. I think it kind of cheated a little bit because on the course there's hurdles, but then it gone to the side of some of them, but
oh,
then sort of just diverged, came back in and sort of jumped, got in the way of the other horses and jumped. So you never know what could have happened. But I was like, yeah, that horse has got a bit of pace on it. So yeah.
oh, wow, 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 wow. All right, good stuff, mate. You got any other stories, or should we call it there?
No, the rest are just too terrifying for viewers' consumption.
Oh, good stuff, mate. All right, happy Halloween, everyone.